Today's talk is on parent-child attachment, the unique and crucial role of mothers in shaping children's lives and futures. A child's healthy development is largely influenced by the nature of the child's relationship with his parents. And various studies have shown that quality caregiving by parents is very important for the healthy development of a child. The converse is also true, that poor parent-child relationship can lead to various negative outcomes in the development of a child. So this takes us to who or what is motherhood. According to St. Pope John Paul II, motherhood is the fruit of a particular creative potential of the female body, directed to the conception and birth of a new human being. In simple terms, a woman or a mother joins with God to bring forth the miracle of a new life. Each woman shares in the mystery of creation, which is renewed with each birth. Motherhood is also the state of being a mother. To mother means to nurture. Our capacity as women to provide a nurturing space to others where they can feel loved, to be sensitive to their needs and respond to them in personal ways is our greatest gift as mothers. Mother is something we women do, and God made us for it. According to St. Edith Stein, the woman's soul is fashioned as a shelter in which other souls unfold. The meaning of motherhood already tells us that as women, God made us the way we are in preparation for our role as caregivers, protectors, friends, disciplinarians. Where there is a mother, there is tenderness. And needless to say this, both mothers and fathers contribute in a distinct way to the upbringing of a child, and both are important to shaping a child's life. Motherhood is a life-giving vocation and a path to holiness. The mere fact of giving birth and keeping a child alive for 18 years or even less these days does not constitute a vocation or what truly makes us mothers. As Christian mothers, we have to be very intentional and involved in the life of our children in order for our motherhood to become a means of sanctification. Being a vocation, motherhood demands sacrifice. If we value our vocation, it will show in the lives of our children and the people that God has placed in our care. According to the servants of God, Dorothy Day, a mother who recognizes her call to raise children who might themselves become saints is already on her way to heaven. Dr. Leslie Atkinson tells us that attachment is the child's first strategy to deal with stress, and as such, plays an important role in our mental health as adults. It is therefore no coincidence that a child tends towards the mother, if not for anything, for the fact that she brings the child into the world. A mother nurtures the child, raises the child, inculcates values and morals in the child, and cultivates the seed of faith in that child. This emotional attachment helps to build an emotional bond and is imperative to building confidence in the child. On the other hand, lack of this attachment could lead to anxiety, depression, hostility, and aggression in the child. A mother's role in child development is crucial. From a mother, a child learns to walk, talk, and to acquire the basic virtues. It falls therefore on parents to create family atmosphere of love and reverence for God and others, so that a well-rounded development will be fostered among the children. A mother's role in the upbringing of a child cannot be underestimated because of their special attachment to the children. Mothers should strive, therefore, to be those traits they hope to develop in their children, such as respect, honesty, compassion, forgiveness, love. A child learns from what they see, and therefore a mother is the best teacher a child can have. As mothers, we have a role model in Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary. Pope Francis tells us that by her motherhood, Mary shows us that humility and tenderness are not virtues of the weak, but of the strong. Deep within, Mary had learned to listen to the heartbeat of her son, and that in turn taught her throughout her life to discover God's heartbeat in history. She learned how to be a mother, and in that learning process, she gave Jesus the beautiful experience of knowing what it is to be a son. In Mary, the eternal Word not only became flesh, but also learned to recognize the maternal tenderness of God. With Mary, the God-child learned to listen to the yearnings, the troubles, the joys, and the hopes of the people of the promise. With Mary, he discovered himself a son of God's faithful people. What can we learn from Our Lady for the spiritual formation of our children? 4 examples in the Bible come to mind. The first, finding the child Jesus in the temple, speaks to always looking out for our children at all stages in life. Mary teaches us that no one can truly be lost with a devoted mother. The second is wedding feast in Cana. Our Lady subtly pushed Jesus to do the miracle and didn't presume that he will do it. Here we learn at all times. We have to continue to teach our children good morals and way of God. No one is too old to be prodded by a mom. On the way to Calvary, Mary meets Jesus and they exchange glances. By this, Mary shows support to her son. We have to always support our children in times of crisis and in their vocation, marriage, and call to religious life. Finally, Mary stood with her son until his death and took his pure body in her arms without any fear. We are taught that our role as mothers do not end after death, terminal sickness, or public condemnation. We have to always be there for our children. Disciplining a child requires making the child understand what behavior and choices are acceptable and those that are not. Disciplining a child is also central to his upbringing, and this requires consistency and can be demanding. We have to teach our children to be responsible people, which demands our commitment and presence. Even though women have a right to develop their skills and have personal goals, at the same time, we cannot ignore the need that children have for our presence. As mothers, we need to make the effort to create quality time for our children. Motherhood is an apostolate of presence, and not one that is discharged through proxy like house helps, internet, television, etc. In AMORIS LAETITIA, Pope Francis tells us that the weakening of the maternal presence poses a grave risk to the world. No wonder the world is the way it is today. He says, mothers are the strongest antidote to our individualistic and egotistic tendencies, to our lack of openness, to our indifference. A society without mothers would not only be a cold society, but a society that has lost its heart, lost the feel of home. A mother who watches over her child with tenderness and compassion helps him or her to grow in confidence and to experience that the world is a good and welcoming place. This helps the child to grow in self-esteem and in turn to develop a capacity for intimacy and empathy. Mothers should create time each day where they can sit with their children to discuss their routines. It will help the children know you are interested in their welfare and are there to assist them. In the world of today where sex is trivialized, it is important that we teach our children the virtue of chastity. This would be to teach them to have respect for God's gifts, to understand the value of sexuality and chastity, and to understand their own vocation. We live in a highly sexualized world, so it is imperative that mothers educate their children in authentic love and chastity, emphasize the beauty and sacredness of the body, and that we are made in God's image and likeness. We have to show good examples in order to strengthen the virtue in our children. Being vigilant about the technology we have in our homes and educating our children about technology use is very important. We have to set boundaries and also cultivate loving and trusting relationship with them so that they feel comfortable to approach us with these sorts of questions about sexuality. St. John Paul's words in his encyclical Familiaris Consortio, "Family, become who you are," could just as well read, "Mothers, become what you are." While the society tells women that mothering is somehow beneath us, or that in order to be successful, we must hide our hearts, please, let us not forget that our primary role as women is to be mothers. That is who we are and what God has called us to do. It is our primary occupation, vocation, and which we are called to sanctify. Before I end, I would like to refer us to two of the Church's most recently canonized saints, who are particularly apt witnesses to the possibility of sanctity achieved through family life. Saint Zélie and Louis Martin, French lay people of the 19th century, and parents of Saint Therese of the Child Jesus. Saint Zélie bore 9 children, but lost 4 of them in infancy, raised 5 daughters, all whom became nuns, and managed a successful lace business, all while cultivating a profound spirituality that permeated the home she made with her husband. She and St. Louis are truly saints for our time, not only because they raised a daughter who became one of the Church's most beloved saints and another daughter on the path to canonization as well, but because of the quiet and humble way in which they made their home and walked a daily living encounter with the love of God, bearing their labors, sufferings, and trials with a strength of faith comparable to that of the martyrs. Finally, I will end with these words from Catechis Salvatore Romano. Mothers are the strongest antidote to the spread of self-centered individualism. It is they who testify to the beauty of life. Certainly, a society without mothers would be dehumanized, for mothers are always, even in the worst of times, witnesses to tenderness, dedication, and moral strength. Mothers often communicate the deepest meaning of religious practice in the first prayers and acts of devotion that their children learn. Without mothers, not only will there be no new faithful, but the faith itself would lose a good part of its simple and profound warmth. Dear mothers, thank you. Thank you for what you are in your family and for what you give to the church and the world. But please remember, mothers, be what we are. Thank you.